Quick side note before we start. A few days ago I started coughing and ever since then my voice has started to crack up a lot. I don't really know what's going on. I've been kinda sick, but also not really. Just very tired and a cracked voice. So if it sounds a little bit different in this video, then you now know why. Anyway, today I want to talk about a relatively new Minecraft server software which has been gaining a lot of popularity as of late. You may have heard about them before if you've been active in the community for the last few months. I personally heard about them a few weeks ago, but I now see more and more people actually make the switch to this new server software from Purpur or Paper, so that definitely made me curious, what is it all about? Why is there so much hype around it? I'm talking about LeafMC, a high-performance fork of Paper. Now again, they've not been around for a long time. When I go to downloads, after that to the old download page, and I then check their oldest version, it is 1.18.2, which is no definitive proof, but definitely makes me believe that 1.18.2 is the first version they worked on. Which means if that's true, they've only been around for around 3 years. But now the main question, why are people switching to it? Is it so great? I have no clue. Let's figure it out. So what is Leaf? Leaf is, in their own words, a high-performance Minecraft server software. It's a fork of Paper and it aims to balance performance, vanilla, and stability. So basically they want to be a paper fork, like Purpur is as well. And then their main goal is to be stable, fair enough. They want to have high performance, fair enough. And then vanilla. Basically, with a lot of these high-performance Minecraft servers, vanilla features often get compromised. Minecraft is a badly optimized game. So if you want to optimize it a bit more, you usually have to change some vanilla features, like spawn rates, the way chunks generate, stuff like that. But by customizing some vanilla features, you also make it so that things break. Things that would work in vanilla Minecraft, like for example mob spawners and stuff like that. So there's always this ongoing balancing trick between performance and vanilla, and every single server software out there lies somewhere on that spectrum. A vanilla Minecraft server is of course 100% vanilla, and all the farms that you can make in, for example, a single player world, you can expect to also work on a vanilla Minecraft server. The more you stray away from vanilla, the better the performance, but that also means that more vanilla things will kinda break. Now, when we go to docs, we can find some more information about them, but outside of these docs, they don't actually have any type of website. They do have an FAQ though. So first thing on the FAQ, how much more performant is Leaf than insert any paper fork here? And they say, as of now, we cannot give concrete numbers on performance-wise. Wait, that's not correct English. What they meant to say is, as of now, we cannot give concrete numbers when it comes to performance, but stay tuned for our upcoming website, where we will dive on the metrics a bit more in detail. That is such an interesting sentence. What is going on? I have a... DreamQWQ, creator of Leaf. Why do I feel like that wiki page is translated with something like Google Translate? Oh, okay, well, there we go. I had my suspicions. They were correct. Let's continue reading. So Leaf does support Bucket, Spigot, and Paper plugins. Leaf themselves says that they have the exact same plugin compatibility as Paper does. So that's interesting. Paper became a hard fork not too long ago, which means that slowly over time, plugins made for the Spigot API will start working a bit worse on Paper. I suspect that's also gonna be the case for Leaf then, but I'm not really sure on that. But what they recommend you doing is, if a certain plugin doesn't work, replace Leaf with Purpur. So just replace your jar file, then test the plugin with Purpur, and I assume if it does work on Purpur but it doesn't work on Leaf, then it should be reported. Leaf also includes the purpur.yml file. They say Leaf includes all the Purpur patches and features, but some Purpur settings are moved to configurations of Gil and Leaf. Does that mean it's not just a Purpur fork? I mean, at its core, it's probably still Paper, but it does also include all of the Purpur config stuff. So then they got some known incompatibilities and stuff like that, and a way to donate too, because of course. Now here on the left side, they do say they have some benchmarks. One for entity performance and one for chunk generation. So here at the entity performance benchmark, they first share some details about the test environment, and then here we got the results. So the lower the number, the better. Here you can see with the default config, it is a bit lower than Paper, so that would be a good thing. And here on the right, we can see that with an increased mob cap, the leap Leaf has over Paper increases quite significantly. Even more if you enable async, which I'm pretty sure is an option you can simply simply changing the settings. And then here we can see the percentage Leaf is quote-unquote better than Paper. What I'm mostly wondering is, how would Leaf compare to Purpur? Purpur is great and pretty well optimized. It's nice that they compare themselves to Paper, but it's just a bit confusing. Because in the FAQ, they talk about having all of the Purpur patches and features, and Purpur is already way more optimized than Paper. So would Leaf then not just be equal to Purpur? It would be great if they actually included Purpur in these benchmarks, but something tells me they're not gonna do that, because the difference is probably not gonna be a whole lot. Then we got the chunk generation benchmark. Once again, some details about the test environment, so that's pretty cool. And then here we got the results. Lower is better, and you can see that Leaf is just a bit lower than Paper. It is not a huge difference, I have to say. 8.5%, that's it. So that's an improvement. But again, not comparing it to Purpur, I would be very curious to see a comparison to Purpur. Now, from what I can tell by looking around on their GitHub and stuff like that, the main premise of Leaf is that they orient towards bigger Minecraft servers. They want to be a performance-oriented fork, and let's see where I read this. Yeah, here it is. Leaf is a paper fork aimed to find balance between performance, vanilla, and stability, and they're mostly designed for large networks and high-capacity situations. This whole sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I gotta be honest. Anyway, they seem to want to orient towards big networks, servers with a ton of players, something like that. Now, the last thing I want to take a look at here is a feature list. So these are all the features that Leaf provides. This is what makes Leaf Leaf. Okay, it's based on Paper for generic performance and flexible API. Okay, that's a good thing. Async pathfinding, mob spawning, and entity tracker, which can of course be really great when it comes to performance. Doing things asynchronous can give a huge performance improvement. I mean, just look at world edit compared to a synchronous world edit. Big difference there. Then various optimizations blending from other forks and our own. Fully compatible with Spigot and Paper plugins. Latest dependencies, keeping all dependencies up to date. Allow all characters in username, including Chinese and other okay. Yeah, that could be handy. Fixes some Minecraft bugs. Mod protocols support. More customized, relying on features of Purpur. More okay, these features don't tell us a whole lot. Let's see what it looks like when we actually install the software. So when we install Leaf on a Minecraft server, you will see that now here, instead of just having the Paper Global and Paper World default files, we also have Leaf Global, Gil World defaults, and Gil World. Now, the Gil global.yml file seems to have some options when it comes to logging, also other random things, like premium account slow login timeout, in case that is something you want to configure. In Gil World defaults, we have some settings when it comes to gameplay mechanics, and I gotta say, these things get really specific. I guess that is the nice thing about something like Leaf. It just gives you even more control over your server, which is a nice thing on one hand, because if you have a few specific issues that you're facing, then a piece of software like Leaf might just be able to resolve that. But on the other hand, most average server owners will not go over every single individual line in every single individual config that we now have available and tweak and change every setting. Most will just install the server and use whatever the settings are set to by default. And I'm pretty sure Leaf will perform better than Paper. There are little doubts in my mind about that. What I'm wondering though is, will it also perform better than Purpur, for example, which is another highly optimized Paper fork. I might be looking into a way to compare those two fairly. Purpur and Leaf. That would be very interesting. Now, we also have a Leaf global YML file, which has the commonly referred to async feature. They do warn you that it's still very experimental, but I guess it's cool it's here nonetheless. Now, there are a bunch of settings here in the Leaf global file. There's a lot you can change. I do have to say, even though I love these forks and I love people wanting to improve server softwares over and over and over again, the amount of config files we have nowadays is kinda crazy. Like here we have the two Paper configs, then a Leaf config file, then two Gil config files, and then over here we of course have the bucket.yml file, the spigot.yml file, the purpur.yml file, and don't even forget about the regular server.properties file. There is so much stuff nowadays, it's kinda crazy. So, I'm kind of wondering, are you using Leaf already? Have you ever heard of it? And if you are someone who actually switched to Leaf, let me know why. Now, I'm tempted to do some testing, though I first want to figure out a way how I can compare them fairly. In terms of chunk loading and things that have to do with entities, I want to make sure I figure out a good and reliable testing method first. So I'll make sure to work on that. Let me know. Are you gonna switch to Leaf? Are you gonna give it a shot? Are you gonna test it out? Or will you just stick to paper or purple for now? Let me know in the comments down below. With that being said, that's gonna be it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot. Also, thank you so much to everyone who decided to become a member. I really appreciate you guys. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. See you later. Bye bye.